As the world's premier independent net zero certification body, we are no strangers to the barriers to existing building certification. Leadership standards are geared toward the top 10% of the global building sector, which means that 90% of the world's buildings don't currently have a viable path to zero. Beyond that, just because companies have the intention to pursue net zero certification doesn't mean they have the information they need to do so. In fact, often we see companies who lack a holistic understanding of their emissions, which leads to unrealistic commitments and strategies incompatible with starting and staying on their net zero journeys. Then the questions mount. Where do I begin? How do I establish a net zero roadmap for my building? What is a realistic timeline? How am I going to pay for this? What do I prioritize? Scope 1, Scope 2, or Scope 3 emissions? And of course, where is the ROI data for my building and how can I make the case to my stakeholders? It can get tricky fast. So what can you do? At GNFC, we believe that eliminating emissions begins with eliminating barriers. And that's where we come in. Based on the GHG protocol, which 92% of Fortune 500 companies use in their reporting, our incremental path to acceleration means you can start anywhere and end at zero. First, you will conduct your carbon assessment to calculate your true Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions. And in this process, we will make it seamless for you to perform a water, waste, and energy audit. Once you have the data, we help you develop an effective net zero plan that outlines your building or portfolio's complete net zero journey, which ideally includes time-bound targets aligned with the Paris Agreement. Then you will be able to educate your employees on the established emissions reductions goals along with the reasons for them. After all, they are the ones who will be working under new guidelines and adhere to these policies. Creating incentives for meeting or exceeding goals can also accelerate their buy-in, which will ultimately help accelerate your net zero efforts. And of course, you will proactively engage corporate partners and customers in your education and reward efforts and help your investors understand the long-term value based on the risk and opportunity analysis. With your baseline emissions and plan, you can start your implementation with your low-hanging fruits and simple steps to eventually scale up to more ambitious strategies. And the momentum won't stop there. With our tools and support, you can ensure you start and stay on your net zero journey and that you achieve the lasting transformation you and your building deserve.